Asian countries accounting for the majority share in the market, India with huge pool of high-skilled human resources bring focused efforts on developing synergies between global partners in these areas. To start the proceedings of the session, I understand we will be joined by Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, Honorable Minister for Health and Family Welfare and Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, virtually. Anytime soon, we'll have him with us virtually. In the meantime, I'd like to invite and request Mr. Madhu Nair, Mr. Madhu S. Nair, Chairman and Managing Director, Cochin Shipyard Limited, to take the matters forward. I'll also request all the speakers to join him on the dais. Dr. Sanjeev Ranjan, Chairman, National Shipping Board, Government of India Policy and Initiatives. Mohammad Abdul Razak Alwadi, Vice President, Business Development, Dry Docks World. Mr. Pranab K.R. Jha, Head of Shipping JSW. Mr. Dinjman Van Worden, Regional Sales Director, Diamond Shipyards. Rear Admiral Deepak Kumar Goswami. Mr. Arjun Chogle, Executive Director, Chief Financial Officer, Chogle and Company. Thank you and good morning, gentlemen. I now request Mr. Madhu Nair ji, if you'd like to take on your welcome address.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And first of all, warm welcome to this session on shipbuilding and ship repair at the Global Maritime India Summit on day 3. Very distinguished panel here and with varied and a different set of experiences within the country and from abroad. So warm welcome to our friends from the Netherlands, from UAE, and thanks for esteemed members from the industry and from the Indian Navy to join us here in these discussions. I should actually start by saying that we are extremely privileged to actually have Dr. Mansukh Mandavia ji, the Honorable Union Minister for Health, Fertilizers and Chemicals with us. For us, for the shipping fraternity, the most important part is Sir has been the architect of the Maritime India Vision 2030. So I think it's with a big round of applause that we should actually receive Honorable Dr. Mansukh Mandavia into our midst. And we have Dr. Sanjeev Ranjan also here, who is today the Chairman of the National Shipping Board and who, along with Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, when Sir was the Secretary in the Ministry of Port Shipping and Waterways. So I think it's really a privilege that we have the Honorable Minister who gave us the MIV 2030 under the, it's a visionary document, and that vision stems from the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister. So that kind of a visionary document drafted by the ministry, led by the Honorable Minister at that point of time, Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, and Shri Sanjeev Ranjan here. So I think we get the flair of where we are headed to, and I think this is going to be a very interesting discussion today. Do we have the minister coming online, or do we continue? Or we continue. Okay. I think today, just to set the context, it was briefly mentioned. What's the status of global shipbuilding, global ship repair? And let's be very clear on this, and let's not hide behind anything. India, as of today, is less than 1%. There is nothing to boast about for a country which aspires to become, and we are fairly clear, it's only the timing. It's only whether it's 12 months or 18 months or 24 months, that we'll be the third largest economy in the world. So we are definitely not a country that has to be at 1% of the global shipbuilding or ship repair market. And what better guidance do we need than the Honorable Prime Minister, who, when releasing the Amrut Kal vision at the inaugural session, has very clearly put this across. And to take the Honorable Prime Minister's words, in the next decade, India will be in the top 5 shipbuilding, ship repair nations in the world. And I think the guidance is very clear from the visionary leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister. It's upon us. It's upon policymakers, industry, participants, stakeholders to realize this vision. And today, I won't get into details on what we need to do, but there's a varied set of expectations and varied set of requirements to be done. So let's try to have a very active discussion and try and see how India as a country, 1/6 of the world population, a highly energetic country, a confident country, people like me, 35 years in the industry, I really feel ab hamara time aa gaya hai. This is our time, and our time has actually come. And is it our time alone? No. We are very closely knit with the global fraternity. And how do we work together with the global fraternity, and how do we realize this aspirational visions? I think these are the discussions which we'll have today. We could probably go in a particular sequence, and when the Honorable Minister would join us virtually from New Delhi, he's conveyed his apologies. He was to be here physically, but yesterday late evening, due to certain other compulsions, the Honorable Minister is not able to join us physically. He would come online anytime. But then we could get started, and the moment we have the Honorable Minister, we also have a few MOUs which we need to be exchanged. So that we'll do when the Honorable Minister is here. And we'll break at that point of time. If that is comfortable, let me just start the proceedings by requesting Dr. Sanjeev Ranjan to share his perspective, because he comes from, he has been in the industry, he has seen both from the administrative side and from the industry side, and today as National Shipping Board Chairman. But just the context and the take would be, there's this large feeling many a times that the government must do everything, and everything must be handed out on a platter. So the government, what has the government done till now to realize these large visions? What's in the offing, and what could we expect? These would be the areas which I would request Dr. Sanjeev Ranjan to touch upon, and I understand he has a short presentation to make.
A very warm good morning to all of you. Mr. Nair, all the distinguished speakers on the dais, esteemed delegates. The broad topic that I would cover is with regard to, I'm sure all of you are veterans in the field, I don't have to possibly repeat the same set of things. But the way things have evolved, I find there's a new vision and there's a new expectation. And as Mr. Nair mentioned, the time has come. And therefore, I'll quickly run through some of the slides that I have, which basically gives you some kind of a background on the whole thing. How does it move? Incidentally, we had the Maritime India Vision, which got released 2 years back in the very same summit of 2021 by the Honorable Prime Minister. That lays out a very clear path of the kind of initiatives that we ought to be taking, given the position we were at that point of time. And as was mentioned, the document was prepared with after extensive consultation with all the stakeholders. And therefore, what is in the vision is 100% realizable. It's realistic and realizable. Many of the initiatives that have been mentioned have already got kick-started, fortunately. And as over the last 2 years, new changes have taken place. Pardon? I say next, okay. Good, so I think, should we come to the first slide, please? The next one. So this is broadly what the vision was, that given the status that we were, 21st ranked at that point of time to become the 10th largest by 2030, which is not many years to go. And yesterday, the Amrit Kal vision of 2047 was released. And that gives an ambitious target of becoming the 5th largest in a decade. That's again not very far off, which means a lot of work is required to be done. The kind of initiatives that have been identified, we got to be working on them at a faster rate. The next slide, if we go to, brings out the reality. We're just less than 1% of the global kind of share that we have. And from there to become the 5th largest in 10 years' time is a huge, huge kind of a challenge that has been thrown before the entire industry. But the commitment is there from the political side. If we are able to really flag the kind of issues that are holding us back, get them resolved, get our act together, we should be able to reach that. The next slide, if we look at that, talks, again, it's a realistic kind of a slide. We are not hiding behind facts. There are some issues with regard to labor productivity, issues regarding to financing, are two broad issues that we identified which throw up a challenge for any private entrepreneur to make it big as far as shipbuilding is concerned. We were trying to address some of them, but again, more work requires to be done in terms of financing, the kind of reservations some of our financial institutions have. We have been trying to pursue with them. But fortunately, we also have the Gift City infrastructure, which is there in place right now, up and operational, where you have actual global players, the kind of financing services which any shipbuilder would expect to be getting out of Singapore or Dubai. We can very well get the very same service, the very same terms, operating out of Gift City in Ahmedabad. The next session that we have in the summit is on financing and insurance and such things. So I think you will get a clearer perspective of how we're going to resolve the challenge with regard to financing. The labor part, the productivity part is squarely with us. We got to figure out how we fix it, whether we go in for larger automation, how do we fix it is for us. And I'm sure with the kind of collaborations, kind of knowledge which our people have here in this room, we should be, and the big advantage is the population incentive that we have. We can certainly be better than any other country in the world today with the kind of population incentive that we have. We should be becoming the favorable destination as shipbuilding is concerned. And with that end in mind, the target is to become the 5th largest in 10 years' time. If we look at the next slide, it broadly talks of the kind of initiatives that we need to be taking with regard to demand activation. Again, from the demand activation point of view, you have the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, where orders less than 200 crores are necessarily to be placed on Indian entities by Indian government procuring agencies. That is there. Ports, the major ports at least, have been mandated that tugs and smaller vessels, they would necessarily order on Indian shipyards. Standard design of tugs have been already made and put in the public domain under the leadership of Mr. Nair. And whether it's the government shipyards or the private shipyards, you don't have to go about spending money in getting these designs done. These are approved designs which our ports have been asked to accept, and our shipyards will be able to get order out of that. The ecosystem, the fiscal and regulatory support, capacity building are other things on which some items are listed here, which I'm sure you are all aware of, and how do we fix that. The next slide is with regard to broadly the various schemes that we have. to be able to make up for the kind of disadvantages that we have in terms of cost and financing. So we have this financial assistance for shipbuilding policy, which has been on for last, the earlier version used to be there earlier from 2016. The new version is on, which used to give incentive up to 20%. The infrastructure status, which was being demanded, the Atmanirbhar Bharat policy, which I just mentioned, the SOP for chartering of tugs and procurement of tugs by ports is already there. There are a whole host of government programs which are happening at the same time, which are putting in big time money as far as vessels procurement and shipbuilding is concerned. The Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, that's the one on fisheries, they have targets of getting trawlers made. Now, some states are supposed to be placing these orders. There were some hiccups which we tried to resolve. Mr. Nair again took a lead with government of Kerala, government of Tamil Nadu and others. So that is another channel which we got to get it activated and make sure those orders come to our shipyards. While we have all this, the big thing which has happened is the Prime Minister Gati Shakti program and the new logistics policy and the new guidelines for the corporates from SEBI with regard to environment, sustainability and governance, where they have to necessarily put a chapter on what they are doing for promoting sustainability, reducing carbon footprint, making their entire operations greener. And therefore, the people who do big-time movement are looking for greener logistic options to be able to earn carbon credits, to be able to get into modes which are less polluting. And with carbon credit scheme also kicking in, our shipping, inland waterways and coastal shipping can make it big. And if we are able to really get the corporates to switch over from road or from rail to coastal shipping and inland waterways, there are big volumes which are possible. Some of our companies, for example, we have JSW who's going to be speaking on what they are doing. They are doing big coastal movement. On the cement side, you have Ambuja Cement. You have some steel companies, Tisco and others, which are trying to do inland waterways movement for bulk commodities. So things are already happening. The big corporates are thinking of switching over from road and rail to waterways. And if you're able to make that happen, they get the carbon credit, the whole thing becomes greener. We know that waterways is 1/6 less polluting in terms of carbon footprint as compared to, say roadways. And therefore, that part of the agenda of the national logistics policy of mandating everyone to look for efficient, cheaper movement options is something we got to be pursuing at all levels, and in turn getting orders from the very corporates. Parallelly, the big push on RoPax, the urban transport, Cochin Metro.
Sir, I understand the Honorable Minister is online.
Good, so we hear him and then we...
On behalf of this entire gathering here, it's our proud privilege to welcome Honorable Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, the Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare, Chemicals and Fertilizer, to our midst. And with a big round of applause, let's welcome the Honorable Minister to our midst. Manya Mandriji ko hardik swagat. And thanks a lot, sir. You have been the Minister of Port, Shipping and Waterways, and we were just referring here that you are the architect of the Maritime India Vision 2030 under the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister. Warm welcome, sir, and request you to address the gathering and enlighten us with your views, sir. Thanks. Everything good, sir.
Okay. आज मैरीटाइम समिट में शिप बिल्डिंग स्टेशन में हमारे बीच में उपस्थित मधु नायर जी, संजीव रंजन जी, प्रणव शाह जी, दिक्कत में सिर्फ फंक्शन मैं मानता हूँ कि एक्सीलरी सपोर्ट से स्किल मैन पावर ये सबसे बड़ी रिक्वायरमेंट होती है शिपबिल्डिंग के लिए और उसके लिए ट्रेनिंग सेंटर ये तीनों क्लस्टर कोचिंग से लेके चेन्नई और तीनों क्लस्टर में एक पावर निर्माण करने के लिए जो स्किलिंग की ट्रेनिंग की शुरुआत की गई है इस स्किलिंग से शिप बिल्डर को आसानी से स्किल मैन पावर मिल सकता है। तो एक अच्छी फैसिलिटी व्यवस्था खड़ी हो गई ये तो कर लिया लेकिन ये करने के बाद इंडिया में शिप बिल्डिंग चालू हो गया तो शिप बिल्डिंग चालू हो जाने के बाद हमें उसको प्रायोरिटी देनी होगी क्योंकि मार्केट भी मिलना चाहिए और इंडिया में भी उसको कार्गो मिले इंडिया में बिजनेस मिले उसके लिए क्या करें। तो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आत्मनिर्भर भारत के तहत देश में के निर्माण में या तो देश की रिक्वायरमेंट देश में ही पूरी हो और हम दुनिया को भी मदद कर पाए ये हमारा आत्मनिर्भर भारत का मोटो रहा है। ये मोटो को पूरा करने के लिए आत्मनिर्भर भारत तहत हमने चार्टरिंग के लिए भी किसी को ट्रक चार्टर करना है तो उसके लिए भी एसओपी बनाई इंडियन बिल्ड ट्रक उसको उसके लिए प्रायोरिटी बेस पर उसको लेना है। यहाँ इंडिया में 70,000 किलोमीटर हमारे यहाँ कोस्टल लाइन होने से और शिप बिल्ड और वहाँ के मजबूत के लिए एक बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है। हजारों की संख्या में हमारे देश में डीप सी फिशिंग वेसल चाहिए तो डीप सी फिशिंग वेसल के लिए इंडिया में ही मैन्युफैक्चर करके उसको कई टाइप के मत्स्य संपदा योजना में इंसेंटिव दिया गया है ताकि आज अच्छी तरह से कोची शिपयार्ड बना रहा है। कोची शिपयार्ड ने हुगली डॉकयार्ड और कर्नाटका का एक उन्होंने क्या है और वहां पर स्पेशल डीप सी फिशिंग के लिए जो वेसल चाहिए जो बोर्ड चाहिए डीप सी फिशिंग बोर्ड बनाने के लिए वहाँ शायद प्रारंभ भी कर दिया है। ये बहुत बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है। प्रधानमंत्री मत्स्य संपदा योजना में इसका लाभ भी अच्छी तरह से ले रहे हैं। मैं मानता हूँ कि देश में जिस तरह से इकोसिस्टम बनी है या तो बन रही है यहाँ जो ग्लोबल उपस्थित होंगे my suggestion is it that have a good opportunity in India. You must be engaged to shipbuilding opportunity in India. How we can engage? India have a ecosystem now and today. India have a skill manpower. India have a design facility. India have a testing facility. India have a indigenous manufacturing player is giving the priority of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And number of type of and third important things is the that skill manpower to cost कम प्राइस में इसको स्किल मैन पावर यहाँ इंडिया में उपलब्ध हो जाता है। तो सभी चीज़ों को देखते हुए मैं मानता हूँ कि 2030 तक इंडिया में 20,000 करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट आने की संभावना बढ़ भी सकता है। और इस विषय को जैसा मैंने समझा और मैं जानता हूँ और वर्तमान स्थिति ग्लोबल सिचुएशंस को देखता हूँ, उसको देखते हुए इंडिया में ये अपॉर्चुनिटी हम एनकेज कर सकते हैं। दूसरा, हमारी क्षमता भी है, हम कर सकते हैं। इंडिया में इंडिजिनियस मैन्युफैक्चरर्स के लिए, शिप बिल्डर के लिए, फॉरेन शिप बिल्डर्स के लिए, जैसा हमने चंद्रयान बना चंद्र पर लैंड कर दिया, इंडिया की अपॉर्चुनिटी इंडिया कर सकता है। दूसरा, इलेक्ट्रिकल ऑटोमेटेड शिप, पहला ऑर्डर नॉर्वे ने बनाना था और मुझे पता है इस समय में उन्होंने टेंडर फ्रॉड किया और कंपटीशन में आके शायद कोची शिपयार्ड ने ही ये इलेक्ट्रिक ऑटोमेटेड शिप बनाने के लिए L1 टेंडर कोड किया था शायद उन्होंने बना भी दिया होगा, भेज भी दिया होगा। तो दुनिया के फर्स्ट वेसल्स बनी थी जो इलेक्ट्रिक ऑटोमेटेड, हम कर सकते हैं, उससे एविडेंस बिल्ड होता है। हमने विक्रांत बना दिया, मैं मिनिस्टर था तो विक्रांत की विजिट पर गया था। हम इंजीनियरिंग सेक्टर में, हम शिप बिल्डिंग सेक्टर में अभी हमारे पास क्षमता नहीं है, या तो इंडिया ने नहीं करा है, इंडिया कर सकता है नहीं कर सकता है, ऐसा ग्लोबल प्लेयर क्वेश्चंस होगा, ऐसी कोई स्थिति नहीं रही। भारत की क्षमता को देखते हुए, स्ट्रेटेजिक यहाँ की स्किल को देखते हुए, इंडिया के मार्केट को देखते हुए, इंडियन गवर्नमेंट की शिप बिल्डिंग की पॉलिसी को देखते हुए और इंडिया की फ्यूचर रिक्वायरमेंट को देखते हुए मैं मानता हूं कि इंडिया उसमें शिप बिल्डिंग में एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका अदा कर सकता है। भारत में आज के दिन में टेक्नोलॉजी सेक्टर में भी जिस तरह से इंडिया आगे बढ़े, टेक्नोलॉजी सेक्टर में आज 3D पेंटिंग सेक्टर, AI, रोबोट सिमुलेशन, सभी क्षेत्र आज इंडिया सक्षम बना है। जो हमारी शिप बिल्डिंग में जरूरी डिवाइस लगाने के लिए जरूरी टेक्नोलॉजी, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करने के लिए ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण साबित होगा। तो अल्टीमेटली आई वांट टू से दैट दिस टाइप ऑफ इकोसिस्टम, one is digital and infrastructure, digital technology. Second is skill manpower, skilling facility. Third is ecosystem of all type of shipbuilding. इन सभी को देखते हुए इंडिया आने वाले दिनों में शिप बिल्डिंग के लिए वैश्विक हब के रूप में आगे बढ़ेंगे। आप सबका इस सेशन के बाद आप डिबेट करेंगे, डिबेट, डिस्कशन, डेलिब्रेशन एंड आफ्टर उसमें से जो कुछ निकलेगा ये हमारी शिप बिल्डिंग इंडस्ट्रीज के लिए बहुत उपयोगी होगा। मैं मिनिस्ट्री को बधाई देना चाहता हूँ कि मैरीटाइम समिट ये आने वाले दिनों में इंडिया का मैरीटाइम सेक्टर में हो रहा ग्रोथ के बारे में दुनिया अवगत हो, इंडिया का मैरीटाइम सेक्टर को समझे, इंडिया में आए, इन्वेस्टमेंट करें, अपॉर्चुनिटी को एनकेज करें और ग्लोबल मैरीटाइम सेक्टर में ये इवेंट अपने महत्वपूर्ण आउटपुट को साझा करें, यही अपेक्षा है। आप सबको मेरी ओर से हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। धन्यवाद।
बहुत धन्यवाद मंत्री जी। मैं आपसे अपेक्षा करता है थोड़े और देर हमारे साथ जुड़ जाए। दो तीन important MOUs का exchange है, so we would be very privileged if we can exchange it in the Honorable Minister's presence. Can you just read out the MOUs?
Sure, sir. Starting with the first MOU between Cochin Shipyard and Indian Navy, may I request the representatives to step forward. The MOU is for agreement for medium refit and medium life upgrade and re-engineering, INSBS. Gentlemen, please step forward to conduct the exchange. A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. For the next MOU exchange, I'm going to invite a representative of Cochin Shipyard and Adani Ports. This MOU is in regard for GTTP and Green Tuck Construction. Gentlemen, please step forward and conduct the exchange. Cochin Shipyard and Adani Ports. Representative of Adani Ports, please step forward. Thank you very much. Our next exchange is between Cochin Shipyard Limited and Polestar Maritime Limited, Mumbai. This is in regards to Green Tug Constructions. Thank you very much. Big round of applause. Moving on to the next, we have the next exchange between Cochin Shipyard Limited and Royal IHC Netherlands, collaboration for Make in India, Make for the World. Thank you very much. Last but not the least, Cochin Shipyard Limited and DRDO, agreement in connection with the AMC for INS Anvesh. Mr. Madhunair ji, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Mandri ji, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Thanks for encouraging us and conveying your views. आपने जैसा बता दिया, infra status for the shipbuilding, ship repair industry, बहुत important step है. You talked about the ancillary support and the ancillary industries, design support, design industries, the model testing and the testing sector. You have exhorted our friends here from the foreign countries that India can give you the requisite skilled manpower. Our technology sector is one of the best technology sector, and thanks a lot for at the highest levels of the government of India conveying welcome to India, invest in India, and let's work together. Thanks a lot on behalf of the entire gathering here. Once again, I request an heartfelt applause to the Honorable Minister. So Sanjeev Ranjan sir, you were just talking about Gati Shakti and the ESG part of it, and what we need to push, what the industry needs to push. So if you could just continue on that.
जी, आपके मार्गदर्शन में जो मैरीटाइम इंडिया विजन बना था और उसके बाद जो जो इनिशिएटिव्स लिए गए उसकी चर्चा मैंने सभी के सामने की है. आपने उसके बारे में बताया और आगे क्या मार्गदर्शन दिया, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. While we have been talking of the Maritime India vision and the Gati Shakti and the kind of opportunities that will come our way, the urban transport is the thing that I was talking about. The Cochin Metro and the kind of number of vessels which Cochin Shipyard has been able to get orders for can be a model which can be replicated in other cities of the country where there is congestion. And these vessels, if they are green, I'm sure cities like Bombay, Calcutta, the city along the major rivers, Ganges, where there's congestion, they can very well shift to the vessel-based urban mobility systems, which is part of the vision. And this can get you more orders. While we have been talking of the vision and the various initiatives, the next big thing which is happening, which I think we got to be taking note of and getting ourselves prepared, is captured in the next slide. The next slide, if you look at that, the one after that, is the major development which has happened in the world of shipping by way of the decision of the Indian International Maritime Organization, where the target for making it zero emission by 2050 is a quantum leap over what it was in the earlier version of going green. Now, this would mean that the existing vessels which are there all over the world would have to necessarily transition to greener options. The ones which burn fuel, which create pollution, will have to be phased out in an accelerated mode. And this accelerated mode of phasing out would mean new vessels to be added. And if we are prepared for it, it is a market which is waiting for us. Some action has been taken to be able to get there, starting from smaller vessels. If we are able to build up the expertise as far as the alternate fuels are concerned, we are already there. We should be able to make it big. The next slide highlights some of the action which has been taken from the government side. There's a green truck transition program which has recently been announced, where all our major ports would necessarily have to have green tugs. By 2030, 50% would have to be greener tugs. And just yesterday, they have exchanged MUs, some of the major ports getting 2 green tugs each. And these green tugs, which would be manufactured, would be based on hybrid to start with, and other alternate fuels. And these would become platforms for testing the new technology on these smaller platforms. And if we are able to establish our reputation, which Cochin Shipyard, as the Honorable Minister mentioned, the ASCO shipping order for autonomous vessel, which has been made and supplied, is a landmark kind of action which Cochin Shipyard had done, which is, again, if you go to the next slide, it's the very same vessel which I have put here. And the leadership which has been taken by some of the shipyards is for others to also look at. So with the greening of the world shipping, with the new mandate which IMO has gives a whole host of opportunities for our shipyards. And with the kind of skilled manpower, the kind of population that we have, we should be able to produce all the replacement vessels which would necessarily have to be done by shipping companies all over the world. And if we are prepared for that, it's a Y2K movement for us, I would call it. We should be able to really establish our leadership and be able to achieve the kind of targets that's been given before us. Now, whether it is the autonomous vessels or the service vessels, the container short sea vessels, quite a few of the pilot work has already been done. These are some of the vessels on which our shipyards have already been working. The Cochin Metro Hybrid, which was mentioned, I borrowed these slides from Cochin Shipyard presentations, just to, maybe Mr. Nair would be hesitant to talk about his own achievements. So I'm showing it here so that other shipyards can also start thinking on these lines. Interact with the possible kind of agencies which can place these orders, be it the municipalities, be it the state governments, be it the fisheries departments. And if we are able to provide these kind of solutions, I'm sure they'll be too eager to be able to adopt that. The catamaran services happening at Varanasi and Guwahati are things which are, again, possible at replicable at other places. The private shipyards, I would say, are no behind. We have example which is here, and I'm sure from Chogle Shipping, I'm sure you're going to talk more at length about it. Other vessels, which I just want to give you an idea of what it is. And while we do all this, the transition to other fuels, there's a whole basket which are possible. Hybrid is already 100% doable. Green hydrogen is something which, again, we have a distinct advantage with the National Hydrogen Mission having been launched. The target is the country would produce 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen by 2030. The infrastructure for that, in terms of getting the green power, which we already there, 30 gigawatts of green power is what we would be producing by 2030. That in turn, with the electrolyzers in place because of the green hydrogen mission, we should have enough green hydrogen and green ammonia in the pipeline, at all our major ports. Therefore, bunkering facilities for green ammonia, green hydrogen, that being assured, it is for us to make the vessels which run on these greener fuels, zero emission fuels, which is what the world is looking at. If we are able to produce these green hydrogen vessels, maybe to start with smaller ones, Cochin Shipyard is doing a pilot with hydrogen fuel cell vessel. Similar ones could be done for others. And with the hydrogen supply assured because of the National Hydrogen Mission and the bunkering facilities for which our ports are prepared in giving bunkering facilities. Inland waterways is getting prepared to provide the bunkering facilities. Some of our private entities will necessarily be able to give these bunkering facilities. IOC is at the forefront. So with the backup supply for green hydrogen and ammonia assured, it is for the shipyards to put their act together, get some of the pilots already been done, copy that, make it in your own shipyards, and supply it to the world. So that broadly is the kind of new opportunity which I thought we got to be capturing, looking at it, finding a consensus and be able to capture that. To make it happen, we have put a National Center for Green Ports and Green Shipping, along with Terry and Cochin Shipyard, and our major ports are also involved to ensure that the linkages which are required for any green shipping options in terms of bunkering, other things are also taken care of. So it's a synergy which we're trying to establish with academia, research, shipyards, and the ports, so that the basic groundwork is done and the ships that we make, the green ships that we make, are able to ply from the first day. Thank you very much, and I wish you all success. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, sir, for covering the entire landscape and the potential landscape of possibilities here. Sir has touched upon the shipbuilding, ship repair ecosystem, what India aspires to be, and what has actually happened. Let's go to dry docks world. We all, most of us are aware that the kind of synergy India as a country has with UAE. There's a special bond. There's a special bonding because especially for somebody like me coming from Kerala, Dubai, UAE is extended home. There's practically no difference. And was very happy to note that Mr. Alawadi, who is heading business development in Dry Docks World, shared the same feelings coming down to Mumbai. See, I have a take here. The perfect ship repair ecosystem, which Dry Docks World has created in Dubai. You have done it. You have perfected it, and highly trusted ecosystem has been developed. It's a different set of ecosystem other than what the Chinese have in China. The Europeans have a set of ecosystem which Mr. Dingeman would talk a little bit. You have this ecosystem developed in Dubai. You always had one shipyard in Bahrain which was sort of competing as a lower brother, let's put it that way. But now you're also seeing emergence in Oman, in Saudi Arabia, new developments happening. I just want to ask you, would it make sense that India and the UAE, would there be natural synergies in the area of ship repairs, refits, given the fact that there is going to be an strong economic uptick in India, in Dubai also, you're small, geographically small place, so you would need the world. Your views on this?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Nari, for hosting us. Dr. Sanjeev, good presentation. You covered most of the landscape. I wouldn't say we are perfect. We have our colleagues here, yourselves, Cochin Shipyard, Damen from Netherlands, also Chogole. I think we're all experts here, so I'm glad to share the platform. We can all learn from each other. In terms of the relationship, we start UAE and in India. It's a historical relationship, goes back centuries. We have many Indian expats also living in Dubai. The number of expats, Indian expats, is around 3.5 million, which is more than the citizens of the UAE, actually. So it tells you the relationship. In Dubai dry docks, we have around 70 to 80% Indians who are working in the Dubai dry docks. So I think we already established some good links as a starting point. Speaking of the industry, in terms of the Middle East, or if I speak on behalf of Dubai Dry Docks or Dubai, the UAE in general, definitely there is room for collaboration. It's not room for collaboration, I think it must be done. I mean, from government to government, India is the second largest trade partner of UAE, United Arab Emirates. UAE is the third largest partner of India in trade. So in 2022, 2023, around $85 billion was the trade in between those both countries. And the geographic proximity also does help, also culturally, the cultural links. Speaking on the economical side, the numbers, Dr. Sanjeev looked at the landscape overall. I will a little bit add some further to that in terms of the green energy, in terms of retrofits. If you look at what the world is trying to do in the terms of ships to reach the zero carbon, by 2030, we are looking somewhere around, according to the figures, which was recently published, some of you might have read it from the Royal Lloyd's Register, it was saying around 308 approximate retrofits, conversions needs to be done every year to meet the target of 2030. Okay. And according to this report, it was a 69-page report by Lloyd's Register. It was saying currently there isn't enough capacity. They actually mentioned there is only around 15 shipyards who has the capacity and capability to actually deliver such a thing. And even if those 15 yards get involved, it's not enough. So this by itself, this challenge is an opportunity. If we look at India, for example, this is an opportunity to expand in this field. If we go to green ship recycling, Dr. Sanjeev touched on that as well, it's expected by 2033 to quadruple in terms of requirement for green ship recycling. Currently, the capacity is not there. You know, in Asia currently, in the whole Asian continent, up to my knowledge, there is no yard qualified to the European standards for ship recycling, green ship recycling in Asia. In the closest proximity is Turkey. Turkey had 7 shipyards qualified. I read in a report 2 of them has been disqualified due to some compliance issues, so that makes it 5. So there isn't, that's again a challenge, but it poses also another opportunity for India to go into this landscape, you know. And this is part of a collaboration I feel, you know, maybe Dubai and India can also collaborate on. Yeah. If we go into the FPSO sector, which is the oil and gas sector, that's also a very booming market. From 2024 to 2027, according to the reports in the oil and gas, we're expecting 10 to 15 either new build or conversion modules to be fabricated and for FPSOs. But there isn't enough capacity and possibly financing as well to do those projects. So again, I would say that's a third opportunity for India, you know, for us to collaborate. In Dubai Dry Docks, we have also been very active when it comes to conversion projects, besides ship repair projects, in terms of new build as well. So that's another area of collaboration we can work on as well. A fourth one is a very big market, which will even get bigger as we go along. I think my colleague from the Netherlands can maybe brief us more on that when it comes to the wind energy, renewables. That was going to be even bigger as we go along up to 2040. So when we talk about wind farms, we're talking also about HVDC platforms, which Dubai Dry Docks has been active in. We've delivered, some of you in the industry are aware of the Borwind project, the Dolwyn project. We have delivered that for Northern Sea of Europe. So that's expected to grow. At the moment, according to reports, it says around 30 gigawatts is the current requirement. Is expected to go to 133 by 2030, 2030. Again, that's a high demand. Currently, globally, the capability is not there to deliver such large scales. So again, that's another opportunity. I would say opportunity number 4. You know, so Mr. Nair, you said the time for India has come. I think I agree on you on that. I believe in that. Time has come to snatch it because these windows of opportunities don't come all the time. So this is the right time for India to take that lead and step forward and take all these sectors. There's a lot of opportunity, and geographically, I think India is stationed in between East and West, which makes it even perfect, you know, for such collaboration.
Thanks a lot for that perspective, and coming from a very friendly country like the UAE, which there's a lot of special bonding here, and then you're bringing out large themed possibilities. You're not talking about small things, large possibilities, FPSOs, conversion projects, the green recycling projects, the wind market. Europe would take a lead, but all over the world, the wind market and people are very clear that there's not enough to build. We'll come back to you, but I think thanks for that positive part, and thanks for echoing the view that, because from India, we definitely, the kind of positivity we see in this country, we feel, yes, the time has come. It's taken a bit too long, but the time has come. And what better person than for me to turn to than to Pranab Jha, somebody whose organization the Jindal Group, who believes India's time has come, investing in plants, atrocious plants like the Dolby plant and the Vijayanagar plant, and creating a new set of Indian ship owners. These are people who are the Adanis and the JSWs and the Birlas and the Reliances who own their own cargo. And what type of cargo? The largest in the world. These are the largest bulk operators. These guys have the largest cargo in the world. So Pranabja, I don't know how many tons of, how many million tons of cargo you ship in and out of India, but can you give us a perspective of what you feel this cargo, this India's growth momentum, shipping requirements, green shipping requirements, how can it support the shipbuilding, ship repair ecosystem? What's your large perspective? Do you feel positive about this?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I think we had a wonderful session. I think earlier the minister did mention, I think India, as far as I and we see, is obviously looking to be a $10 trillion economy, and by targeting by 2030 plus. What we are looking at India also as a manufacturing hub. Now, if India needs to be a $10 trillion backed by manufacturing, then obvious is that India needs to have shipbuilding, ship repair, ship recycling as one of the key sectors to be focusing on. I think it's okay. Probably I'll go extempore because I think most of Mr. Sanjeev and the others have mentioned a lot of the things which I had prepared on the deck. So I'll probably go extempore and try and cover as much, giving the background from an industry perspective, what we are looking at as a commercial organization. So just continuing, I think what we are looking at is India being on the sweet spot in terms of becoming one of the other supply chain alternatives in the world alongside China, and that gives us a very big opportunity to grow our businesses, our manufacturing in India. And by the same logic, I think shipbuilding, ship repair is something which we are very, very positive about. As far as what Mr. Nair did mention, I think as a group, JSW, we move about 70 million tons of dry bulk material, which includes export, import, as well as domestic movements. And this is at our current capacity, which is around 28 million tons of steel production. We, as company, also have very aggressive plans, and we are looking at least tripling our capacity in the next 8 to 10 years. And that gives us quite a bit of headroom in terms of trying to increase our exposure into ship owning or ship operating or ship chartering. As what Mr. Nair mentioned, I think one of the initiatives which as JSW took was to look at how do we control our end-to-end logistics. And one of the key successes which I would like to share with the audience here is our very novel way of integrating the coastal movement for one of our plants very close to Mumbai, which is the Dolvi steel plant, which was earlier at a capacity of 3 million tons. And as we speak today, it's operating at a capacity of 10 million tons. So roughly, I think 10 million requires about 32 million tons of raw material inward, as well as some of the coastal as well export cargo movements outward. That puts us in a situation where we need to move close to 25 million tons on the coast. We were with the target to increase this plant's capacity. One of the restrictions was how do we move it on the Indian railway system, given the constraints of moving iron ore and some of the other products through the rail system. So we actually deliberated, and then we actually went for a coastal shipping as an option, where we are right now moving about 16 to 17 million tons of iron ore from Orissa cluster, Orissa as well as through the Vizag port from Chhattisgarh, and we move it to one of our ports. Again, the whole supply chain, we are in control of it. So we have our own port at Jaigarh, which is Ratnagiri. And from there, we have smaller freighters, which we designed. It was in-house designed and taken ahead. And that's 8,000-ton ships. And we are moving those ships directly into the steel plant for feeding the steel raw material for the steel plant. That I would say is one of the successes. If you look at India's inland waterways, coastal shipping, whichever way you look at. Obviously, there was a business case as well as there was a requirement. So there, for in my view, actually, one of the challenges which Indian shippers or receivers or users face is to make a business case of converting to coastal. I think that's almost like they expect there should be subsidy or there should be some sort of help from the government. I think first the low-lying fruits which are there should be targeted where it is a pure business case, and that should gradually develop into cases where probably there are more network and grids of logistics in terms of number of ships which are operating on the coast. That will bring down the logistics cost and more. So it will be a vicious cycle, in my view, which will feed into newer shipbuilding, which is taking care of the coastal movement of ships. This is as far as coastal is concerned. In my view, also, I think the other panelists also mentioned, I think the initiative on green, the initiative of new technology, I think Indian fleet or Indian ships owned in India, I think about 60% odd is already beyond the age of 20. So there is a huge scope that these vessels, when they come up, or these capacities when they come up for renewal, could be a big opportunity for shipyards in India to probably target that. I think I'm of the view that probably it's mainly right now related to tankers and bulk carriers on the bigger size. Most of those orders obviously are taken by China, and India actually needs to be now upping the ante and probably try and target to take as many orders on bigger bulk carriers and tankers, because I see most of the owners are deferring their new building programs because of the uncertainty in which is the next fuel. And that is actually deferring a lot of owners to take a decisive call whether they should go for a new construction now or wait for a couple of years. And as far as the, if we actually study the overall age profile of ships, my view is that by the time, which I expect about 2026 or so, when the world knows that which is going to be the next shipping fuel, the time would be late and a lot of tonnages would be ready for scrapping, and there would be a scarcity of shipyards who would be able to deliver those ships within short time. And therefore, I think India sits in a very advantageous position. They have about 4 to 6 years to probably try and ramp up capacities, create more infrastructure, and what the minister was talking about, ancillary industries in and around, so that shipbuilding is given an impetus. As users of shipping, we also are of the view that my demand or our demand in terms of shipping requirement from 70 million could go up. By 2030, I think it should be in excess of 150 million tons. So that's almost doubling my present shipping requirement. And that is something which we are very positive and we feel that that's the way forward.
Thanks, Pranab Jeff. And I'll come back to you after going to the other members on the dais, but would like to have your views also, like your success, what you are seeing in Dolby, maybe when we come back. would these enthuse, or are we already seeing a rub-off on some of the other major players in the Indian space? Would this be a trigger for others also to try and follow this model? Let me turn towards Admiral Deepak Goswami. Varied experience within the Indian Navy, and today heading one of the largest ship repair ecosystems in the country. And let's be clear, the largest ship repair ecosystem is not really in the commercial space, probably it's somewhere within the Navy. And we just had a wonderful experience here. 2 MOUs were getting exchanged. One was for the re-engineering of a Brahmaputra class frigate, and this is about a $40 million kind of worth. So the kind of requirements with the Indian Navy, because it's a large fleet, we are talking about a 175 vessel fleet coming in the next 5 years. And very interesting to note, new models also being tried out. AMC for vessels, Indian Navy and DRDO are trying out newer models. But Admiral Goswami, like Sanjeev Ranjan sir talked about demand activation. And as we see today, the Indian demand on ship repairs, ship refits, significantly fueled by requirements from the Indian Navy. Huge requirements from the Indian Navy. Can you throw a picture of the current state of the industry? Are you generally happy with what it is, or would you dil mange more kind of a thing? You know, you aspire for much more. Can you just throw a feel on the technical side and the capacity side and the overall view of the industry? You can take them.
Good morning, everyone. I have made a few important points, and I think whatever sir has asked, I'll be able to tell something about what we require as far as Indian Navy is concerned from everyone else, from the outside industry, from the shipyards. Shri Mansukh Mandavia, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and Minister of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, Dr. Sanjeev Ranjan, Chairman, National Shipping Board, Shri Madhu S. Nair, CMD, Cochin Shipyard Limited, distinguished heads from various industries, all delegates, participants, and organizers. Actually, it's an honor to be here today. I was here, I think, a couple of weeks back for INMAX, but today it's a global Maritime India Summit, and it's a big occasion which brings all maritime professionals together, various experts and enthusiasts from the world. And I'm sure the summit must have offered, and I'm also learning quite a bit about the various opportunities, and we may share our knowledges, challenges, and deliberate the way ahead to improve the core shipbuilding and ship repairs in India. I'll be sharing some glimpses of opportunities available in the domestic defense ship repair, as well as what is required from the industry to take full advantage of the opportunities that the defense services, especially Indian Navy, give. The Maritime India document, which was promulgated by the Honorable Prime Minister, focuses on the domestic shipbuilding and ship repair industry and has laid a foundation for prospective growth in this sector. Having recognized the need for an Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Government of India has embarked on several initiatives, including Make in India. And the Government of India has also set up dedicated manufacturing corridors, and which is a step in the right direction. And taking the cue from the government, the Indian Navy has also embarked on various initiatives to develop new technologies in partnership with domestic industry. As we are all aware, that Indian Navy has taken enormous stride in its domestic ship design and shipbuilding, and this commenced way back in 1964. Today, we have almost achieved a 90% indigenization in float category, about 70% in move category, where excluding, I would say, higher range of main propulsion system, gas turbines and gas turbine generator, excluding that, we make everything. But yes, there is a need to increase the indigenization content in the fight category. A lot of emphasis is provided on the domestic shipyards, both public and private. The Navy today is looking for more than 60 ships and submarines and 20 auxiliary vessels, and which amounts to more than 1.5 lakh, 1.6 lakh crores under construction and in various domestic shipyards. Further, with the increased number of ships and the capacity constraint within the Indian Navy, a lot of ship repair work is being offloaded and will continue to be offloaded. Not only ship repair work, but complete ship as refit, especially for non-weapon platform systems. As Mr. Madhu Nair has mentioned, we have just gone in for re-engineering of one of the Brahmaputra class ship, which is one of its kind. And if you look at repairs and refit, this year, all this data is what I have found out. It's not that from Navy is being said, but more than 2,500 crores is being spent on ship repairs. And this is going to grow, this opportunity is going to grow in the coming years for the domestic industry. There are many players in this field. There are big players, large players, there are medium players, small players in the field of engineering in our country. However, if shipbuilding and ship repair has to take off, there is no doubt that we need to create an ecosystem which was created for automobiles long back. So a similar story needs to be scripted. We have to leverage already existing capabilities in this maritime, in the marine segment. And as said, the Navy is perhaps the biggest customer for domestic shipbuilding. And accordingly, ships one commission, we know, would need to be maintained and upgraded for over 30 to 40 years, and depending upon what type of ship it is. Therefore, there is a tremendous scope for the domestic industry to pitch in the areas right from design, testing, simulation, in addition to the skills which are pertaining to specialized repair processes, planning, and project management. And with the increase in private sector participation in shipbuilding, Navy has been ensuring that adequate opportunities are being provided to all MSMEs in the field of ship repairs. MSMEs are also partners in the Navy towards indigenous development of systems, sub-assemblies, as well as components. I would like to highlight that as we are heading towards becoming self-reliant, there is a dearth of some specialized skills customized to maritime technology domain. I would name a few, such as we still don't have component level repairs to PCBs and motherboards. We have to move from condition-based maintenance to AI-based predictive maintenance, shafting design and simulation techniques. There are many legacy system repairs, embedded systems. So all these are require specified skill sets, and they pose major challenges. I'll also urge that the industry has to come forward to invest in the R&D and take chances in developing cutting-edge technology. Where the chances of being successful in the first attempt may not be good, or the other option is to absorb technology from outside, from international market, and bring it to the Indian market. Though there are various, I know there's a lot of financial implications are there. There are many schemes, as we all know, as I had already mentioned, Make in India, TDEX schemes which are available today to help industry out. I feel commercial and defense shipbuilding and ship repair is a long way ahead, and it's important that we bring world-class efficiencies and quality consciousness across whatever process which we do. The role of private sector yards in India towards international fleet replacement requirement and the need for collaboration in the field is very, very important. Moving forward, it would be essential for the Indian industry to expand global and private participation and collaborations. And so some of the focus areas in which the shipbuilding and ship repair sectors can establish global partnership would include infrastructure development, project management techniques, ancillary support. As far as Indian Navy is concerned, we require support for all vessels, all across ports in India, even minor ports, and design support. And one of the design support is, again, I come back again to this Brahmaputra class re-engineering. The design support for this has been provided by a private industry. So for the domestic industry need to focus, I feel domestic industry need to focus on development of indigenous main propulsion package. As I said, we don't have higher capacity propulsion packages, gas turbines, development gas turbine generators. Though some work is already started. Development of sensors, weapons to strategic tie-ups. In addition, I also feel that new technology available need to be accepted and integrated in the domestic market. The Indian Navy himself is working on various projects through IITs and academic institutes, which includes alternate environment-friendly cooling arrangements for refrigeration and air conditioning plant, RO plant, which are required for shallow depths, modernized and internalized fire control system for boilers, etc. And these projects, once proved, will be made commercially viable, so that required TOT or MOU can be made. Presently, the Indian Navy, majority of ships in the Indian Navy today are being refitted or repaired by the naval repair yards itself all across the Navy. And the naval repair yards are strategic assets, and one of the yard I had was in Bombay. But Navy is also looking to forge a strategic and reliable partnership with the industry to create an ecosystem where industry or any civil yard will go hand in glove with the naval dockyards. Such partnership will be welcomed, and this will also include not only repairs but stores, providing of stores right on time where we want. We have also initiated multiple ship repair contracts and yards from the MSMEs of skilled manpower, which would be available, which they should have for operating this government-owned facilities. I would finally highlight that the Navy has consistently been in the forefront of interaction with the maritime industry and all stakeholders, be it for operation or be it for technical support. And our endeavor toward Indianization is bearing fruits today, as almost all naval ships and submarines which are built today are all in Indian shipyards. And further, the domestic equipment profile on all these ships, all these platforms, is steadily increasing. Coming to the role of foreign firms in the Indian maritime sector, foreign firms, I feel, can contribute significantly to the domestic ship repairs by having strategic tie-ups with the local industry here, thereby bringing investments, technology, expertise, and global best practices. Foreign companies' involvement will obviously strengthen India's position as a key player in the global maritime industry, and it would enhance our country's role in maritime infrastructure and capabilities. In the end, I would like to reassure that there are ample opportunities for all the players in the defense sector, not only in the repair field, but also, as I said, we also require various industries with modern skill sets, and all of these are required to embrace new technologies. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Admiral Goswami. Thanks for bringing out, and first of all, thanks for that assurance that the Indian Navy would be looking at various opportunities within the industry. Happy to note that you have talked about a GOCO model being evolved, the multi-refit contracts, teaming up with academia, and focus on certain things like the ancillary project management. Very interesting. I think I should come back to that project management part a little bit if we have the time and going through this. Shri Dingaman Fondwarden from Daman Group, and one of the most interesting groups worldwide. There are 40 yards, something close to that. 40 yards worldwide, private organization, niche vessels, and some of the finest. And consistently at the edge of technology advancement. And for me, again, happy to note that a large digital transition for the group is being handled by our own Tata Consulting Services. So, Dingaman, can I ask you your perspective, and you're both in shipbuilding and ship repair. So, a global take and pointed question. When do we see you in India? when do we see Daman in India? Please.
Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Dear audience, thank you for being here. We as Damen, we believe that futuristic ship construction go hand in hand with the ship of the future. We fully support Prime Minister Modi's vision that the maritime sector must work on sustainability, safety and reliability, and that we as an industry must step beyond national borders to jointly look for the future and for the best solutions. That is what brings India and Netherlands together in this maritime industry. And that is also why I am very happy to be here at this Maritime Summit in Mumbai. What has Damen achieved in this area? First of all, of course, we are very proud to announce that we have delivered the first 100% electric tug to New Zealand. This proven design has 70 tons of bollard pull. The batteries are charged by the shore charging system and has a lifetime of 25 years. And the tug can perform 6 operations per day without charging. And this tug has a break-even point of 8 years in comparison to the conventional tug. And this success brings this tug also to Europe. And now the city of Antwerp has decided to buy this proven design, and we are building more of these vessels on stock to be delivered next year. In our opinion, electric is the future for harbor, port, but also for offshore daily operations. The developments in this field are going very fast. That's what we also understand from the speakers today. And there is a high need for this kind of vessels, hybrid and electric. And these electric vessels, not only have delivered tugs, but also we have delivered ferries to Canada and Denmark, and we are now also developing electric pilot boats, for example. So that is about the ship. That is what I said, is going hand in hand with the future of the shipbuilding. And the shipbuilding, we don't have to forget the shipbuilding itself, because also that one, we need to really approach shipbuilding, how to approach shipbuilding in the future. And actually, our chairman, Mr. Komar Daman, known to a lot of people here in the audience, already developed a vision more than 40 years ago on futuristic shipbuilding, namely internationalization, standardization, and modular construction. And he figured out that time that the only way to be competitive is to step beyond national borders and make use of the skills and cost reductions that can be found in other countries. Partnerships. And through standard designs and modular constructions, that means fitting out of each block before building the blocks together, Damen was very successful. And Damen has now 35 yards all over the world, and they're building 200 ships a year based on this concept. But of course, we are not there yet. There's always room for improvement, for innovation. And we believe that the shipyard of the future should be sustainable, safe, and be very efficient. Only if we meet those three factors, the three aspects, we have room to exist as a shipbuilding company. And we also have some ideas how to work on this. We have a research and development department who is working on this. We think about and we are working on further integration of design and construction. For example, we call it hardware in the loop, testing of software and systems before it has been built into the ship. But we also use simulation techniques for the complex systems, but also for the logistics at the yard, to bring down the man hours on the shipyard itself. We think about 3D printing, and we are working on welding robots. We have a very big program for remote assistance on our vessels. And we can talk more about all this kind of technology we are now implementing to our vessels. That is the shipyard of the future. But we as Damen, we cannot achieve this alone. We need partners who are enthusiastic to work with us and want to share their knowledge and experience to create a beautiful product that makes our world a bit greener, a bit safer, but also a bit more beautiful. And I'm sure that we can find, and we will find these partners here in India. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Dengeman. And your theme of partnerships is echoing with the connect, collaborate, and create theme of this mission. And I have to now go to Arjun. And Arjun, we are running a relay race here, and you know what the role of the anchor guy is, so you need to run now. And you need to take over from Dengeman, who's talking about partnerships, the Dutch way, and what better person than to talk from Arjun, third generation Chaugle business house, strong Netherlands participation, and I think doing good and great for India. But how do we together create brand Bharat?
Thank you, Madhunai ji. Based on the topic that Mr. Madhunai had given me, he has also yesterday written an article in the newspaper that covers all the answers to that. So if you really want the most succinct answer, just Google Madhu Nair medium shipbuilding India, you will get the answer. But I think a lot of topics have been discussed already. I can see that we're running short on time also. So I will talk a little bit about the international market, how we see it panning out, and what the opportunities for medium-sized shipyards in India are. And if you look at the international market, let's look at it, let's break it up first into a demand side and then into a supply side. On the demand side, a large amount of international trade happens through small and medium-sized vessels, the type that JSW is looking at using for the river sea fleets over here. If you look at the statistic in Europe, 60% of Europe's trade happens only through these type of vessels. And then in addition to this, you have a lot of other types of smaller vessels like tugs, patrol vessels, offshore vessels that are very essential, critical components for very, very large industries like ports and energy. So the market itself is very big. If you look, and let's take one example out of this market. Let's look at Europe, which is where we build a lot of vessels for. the European short sleeve fleet today has around 3,000 vessels plying. And this is, we're talking about one of the most advanced ship-owning ship-owning regions in the world. Out of those 3,000 ships, 42% of them are over the age of 25 years old. And if you look at how many are over the age of 20, it's 54%. 70%, 75% are over the age of 15. All of these will need to be replaced. And if you see the European ship owners, how many orders they've placed, that constitutes today 8% of the fleet. So 8% of a fleet where more than 50% is already over the age, has crossed the age of 50. So there's a huge gap in the replacement need. So the replacement need is clearly evident. In addition to this, you add the decarbonization targets that have been set in by IMO, and what we see is two particular regions, Japan but primarily Europe, really leading the charge in terms of revamping the fleets over there. So the demand is definitely there. Now, if you look at the supply side, the number of shipyards in the world has reduced. In 2007, there were 700 shipyards in the world. Today, there are 350 shipyards in the world. We personally don't see too many new shipyards coming up. I don't see too much investment coming up in physical capacities. We do see some shipyards being revived, but 350 maybe will go up to 400. I don't see it going up beyond that. China, the world's largest shipbuilder, is building larger vessels, but fundamentally it's building vessels for itself. It's not really building vessels anymore for the world like it used to. And then the third one is that you see the demographic changes happening, getting people working in this type of industry in Europe, Korea, Japan is becoming increasingly difficult. I was talking to a UK-based shipyard. Their average age at the shipyard is 65. So there is also, so that while supply is there is a deficit in demand, and that deficit in demand has to continue. And I think this is really where the role of Indian private sector can come in. So the Indian private sector can really be the stars of the future to address this.
Just a minute. Shampa, do we have a few more minutes or is it a hard stop? I think the diktat is on the wall. It's a pity that we probably are not in a position to do a round or a few questions. The Finance Minister, Honorable Nirmala Sitharaman, is already here. I think we need to be respectful towards the Honorable Minister also, but I think I need to say thanks. Thanks to a great audience. Thanks to the panel. Probably on the sidelines we continue the discussions. But thanks a lot, and over to Shampa for the balance of the proceedings.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session. As a token of appreciation to our esteemed dignitaries, may I request Mr. Madhu Nayarji to present mementos to the speakers. It's a humble request to all the speakers for a group photograph, please. Just some housekeeping announcement that there is a 5-minute break